today we are gonna dive into my last light setup from my previous Tinder commercial.
Everything is lit by ZHIYUN and all of the light I used are in the link in my description.
I went for a really soft commercial look, but having those neon RGB soft punchy light. Let's dive into the first setup with the light shots. So everything starts with a side light setup, but it is really different between the left side and the right side. Why? Firstly, because I don't have enough power to replicate the same setup on the left and on the right side. So let's go on the left side. What I did there was to take the Molus 500 watts and create a sort of booklight. So what I did was to put the 500 watts in a lower position, right there, directly pointing at a white muslin and bouncing through soft diffusion sheets. That is really cheap because it is not a professional one, but really doing the job. So like that, this mainly gave me a really soft look and a little bit of spill to create a sort of ambient light because it was really dark on the bar. It was a choice to really control the light, of course, and everything is motivated with this practical here and on the right side here, but we are coming to the right side just after. So one Molus 500 watts as a booklight. What about the right side? Because I told you it was a bit different. Well, I took a panel because I didn't add another 500 watts. And why did I choose a panel? Mainly because a panel is at first really small. Like I told you, we don't have a lot of space. And because it is way easier and quicker to diffuse it when you don't have a lot of gear. So the panel was out of the frame, just right there, directly pointing at the actress and a bit on the counter that was doing like a bouncing light. But we can clearly see that it is not the same lighting on the frame, like the intensity is a bit stronger on the right. It is really important? No. Does it matter? No. Because I wasn't searching for a really parallel light, even if we have the both same practical, we don't care about that actually, or I don't care. So we have our side light. Is it now enough to create the wall mood I was aiming for? Not at all. So to have this cherry at the top look, what I did was to take the ZHIYUN C100 tubes, putting it behind the bar and the bottle right there at like 10% of power and intensity, just to have this colorful, contrasty, saturated look. It was pointing at the wall and not at the camera because it would have been way too stronger, and the goal and the point of having them on the frame is just to add some practical and really creative look, not to be like a main light, because when you are looking at the characters you can clearly see that there is not any RGB or neon light on the hair or skin on the white shots. Anyway, about the neon, my biggest mistake here was, if you look at this bar neon, we can clearly see that it is way too strong in terms of intensity. I bought it on Amazon for $30, and of course it is not dimmable, so that's a bit of mistake because it is really strong. But well, for $30 it really did the job actually. And the last light was behind us. It was the Molus 200 watts directly bouncing at the ceiling to have this ambient light, because here it was way too dark, and it is still a little bit too dark, but at least we can clearly see the models in the talent. I put it at the ceiling at, if I remember right, at like 25%. And before asking me in the comment, because I'm seeing you coming, about the Kelvin, we were at like 2700 Kelvin, something like that. Let's move out to some medium. So for the medium, on the left side and on the right side, it is quite the same. But of course, because we have a different camera angle, it wasn't possible to put the booklight, obviously, because we don't want the light on the shots. So what I did was to take the 500 watts and putting it in a soft box, a square one. So like that, here was a softbox on the right at like 3/4. I tried to mimic the same softness as the booklight previously. Of course, it is a little bit less softer because, like I told you, there is not so much space behind the counter. So the softbox was really close to our model. And like always, if you want a soft light, try to keep it further away and not close to your subjects. But I don't have enough choice. Double diffusion here, directly pointing at the model, and it was exposing here, but not enough exposition to have it completely wrapped. Here it was way too dark, so what I did is I kept the panel next to the softbox here at like 2% maximum, if I'm correct, to just expose a little bit more the dark side. 500 watts here, still at 2700 Kelvin, and the panel next to it at 2%. So you have the key and the feel. What about the practical? Because they are doing most of the job in terms of aesthetic. So firstly, I took the 300 tube and put it behind him in a really warm and orange tones to compensate with all the bluish and purple tone. It will have been way too monotone. Still at a really soft and small intensity, it was like 10%. We can clearly see this tube, but no. It is not the one that doing the edge. It is just like a practical to motivate a tube that we just put at the top of him to have a really edgy light blue one. The tube was at like 15% in a RGB blue tint. I don't remember the exact code of it. And what's cool is with the big neon here, this one and the top one, it is creating some edge. So that makes the model even more detached from the background. The 200 pointing at the ceiling to create that ambient light and expose all the dark area. Still the 200 watts. On the right side, it was a little bit different in terms of mood. The key light and the fill light remain the same. I'm gonna speak about that a little bit later. But more about the tube. You can just see one tube there and not air or air, because it was clearly impossible for us to grip because it was some old stone and we didn't add the right equipment to grip it at the stone wall. And I didn't wanted to motivate it from this far. So what I did instead is to went for a more natural look for the right side. So what we did there was to add a little tube here to really gain a little bit of exposure here and some lights directly at the wall and the ceiling, because it was really dark, but it was spilling everywhere. So what we did was to add a black flag, a black floppy to cut down the spill out. It was really crazy. At the top of air, we added another 300. So, but what I did different there was to take a Molus 200 watts on the upper floor, pointing directly downstairs on the stairs, creating this highlight here. I don't know if you can clearly see it. So, like you see, it's creating a line directly pointing at the actress. So here and here. And we just add some diffusion directly on the 200 watts to soften the light because it was really too harsh and it was more like a sunset directly going on the bar and it was out of the mood totally. Okay guys, time for the close-up one. We went the other side of the bar. We took a diopter to really have like a macro lens. It is really handy to have some diopter. If you don't know about that, just check on Amazon. It's really cheap and it's so handful on this type of situation. Okay, first let's talk about the little highlight on the air, here and here. What I did was to put a 300 watts again at the top of air, directly pointing on the side but at the top, on a warmer light to be really consistent between the last shot you saw on the medium one and this one. So the 300 watts. So for the key light, again we took the softbox with the 500 watts right there, directly pointing at air to have this nice light and exposition with this time a little bit of contrast, like a lot compared to the shots. But for close-up shots, I really like to aim for a bigger contrast ratio. It is way more appealing in my opinion, because with the lipstick, with the liquid, it makes the whole stuff really attractive. Still double diffusion. On the back, we put some lights in a bluish tint to really make this contrast. And that's it for this shot. There is not that much light used. We really went straight forward to cross the look on this one. Time was running out and I was satisfied enough with the look we got. Okay, guys, let's talk about the last shots with the shaker. What we did there is we shoot it right after the white one. So we use our famous booklight we previously made. So white muslin, 500 watts, and the diffusion. That's why we have that here. We have a little bit of exposition right there. On the right, the panel, but this time really on the side, not at 3/4, really on the side to create, like you see, a little bit of contrast here. This time it was more at like 25% to give a little bit of punch because it was the main light. It was the key light for this one actually. Directly pointing at him to create some light here evenly. And like we can see here is the highlight made by the panel, really big and interesting. We didn't add enough light on the dark side, so what I did there was to take a 5-in-1 reflector, you know, the cheap and big one, on the white side, directly here out of the frame to make the light bounce and gain some exposition and light here. So what about this edge? Do you remember about the 300 behind the bottles? Well, it was still there, but we just keep it closer from the subject and directly pointing at the subject. Like that, it creates a nice edge of purple here when it is spinning, and it is way more appealing to have this neon RGB on it. That's how I lit the main sequence of this commercial. Like you see, it is not the most complicated to create, but the small space really pushed me to think, oh, can I evenly lit and soft all the light with that much space? If you have any question, let me know in comments. I will try to answer my best I can. Don't forget to subscribe, guys, and until next time, keep creating.